A very good evening and welcome to the news tonight, where we get you the day's top stories from India and across the world. I'm Tracy Shilshi, and in the next 30 minutes I'll be giving you all that. But first, the headlines. Prime Minister Narendra Modi reaches out to the opposition on GST legislation, meets former Prime Minister Manmohan Singh and Congress President Sonia Gandhi for talks. Prime Minister Modi also delivers the concluding remarks on debate on commitment to the Indian Constitution, underscores the need to highlight importance of November 26th and lauds the contributions of all previous governments. The debate commences in Rajya Sabha. Leader of the House, Arun Jaitley, calls emergency the biggest challenge to Constitution, and the Leader of Opposition, Ghulam Nabi Azad, says that failure to recognize Nehru's contribution is a sign of intolerance. And India takes an unbeatable 2-0 lead in the 4-match Test series against South Africa, wins the Nagpur Test by 124 runs. A top story this evening: Prime Minister Narendra Modi met his predecessor, Dr. Manmohan Singh, and Congress President Sonia Gandhi a short while back at his residence. A number of issues, including the stalled GST bill, were discussed over tea. The Prime Minister reached out to the Congress leaders to enable smooth functioning of Parliament, keeping in view several important bills that remain stalled in both houses. Congress President Sonia Gandhi also put forth her party's stand on the three contentious issues regarding the GST legislation. The government has assured to take into consideration the opposition's views. Both sides will meet again to reach a consensus on the bill soon.
With regard to the goods and services tax and the constitution amendment which is pending before the Rajya Sabha, the subject was discussed. The Congress party leaders put forward their position with regard to the three issues which they felt are of concern to them. The history and the background of the legislation and the government's response to those three issues in detail was explained to them. The Congress party leaders would be discussing within their own party, and there would be, after some time, a fresh contact between the government and them to discuss this subject further after they've discussed within the parties, and we've also considered the positions that they have stated to us.
Well, for more on this story, we're joined now by our correspondent Vishal Dhaya, who in fact was tracking that meeting, joining us on the phone line now. Vishal, after that meeting, is the Prime Minister giving the Congress now less things to actually complain about?
Well, indeed, because, in the previous session also, we've heard Congress leaders, and in fact, just before this session began, there were statements coming in from top Congress leaders that, the government should reach out to the opposition on key issues, specifically with regards to the policy, and take them on board before taking a final decision. And just because of this one particular reason, maybe, or rather one of these, this was one of those major reasons because of which the most crucial GST bill, which is considered to be one of the key reform measures to be taken by the NDA government, which has come to power under Prime Minister, was hanging fire. And in the previous session we saw that the government's efforts to get this bill passed in the upper house did not succeed. But it is just the beginning of the session, and this particular action by the Prime Minister of reaching out to the top leadership of the Congress, asking them to come over tea, have a discussion on this contentious issue, and exchanging their views is definitely good. Help the government in terms of breaking the ice, in terms of getting the dialogue process ahead. Now both sides are clearly indicating that the discussion process is on, and it might be just a matter of days, if not weeks, before both sides come to a mutual conclusion, and the government's bill might get through.
All right. Thanks so much, Vishal, for joining us with those details there. So the Prime Minister, of course, reaching out to the opposition, and this comes after the Prime Minister today sought to calm down apprehensions that his government wanted to make changes to the preamble of the Constitution. Speaking on the commitment towards the Constitution in Lok Sabha, the Prime Minister said that the Constitution was the basic document which defines the three organs of the state: legislative, executive and the judiciary.
During the debate in Lok Sabha, Prime Minister Narendra Modi said it was the Constitution that keeps the nation united. Stressing on the need to take this discussion into the public domain, he said it should not be limited to the Parliament or courts. The Prime Minister also clarified that there was no intention to deny the contributions of any former Prime Minister or leaders who worked for the Constitution and the country.
बाबा साहब आम्बेडकर की भूमिका को हम कभी भी नकार नहीं सकते। इसका मतलब ये नहीं कि बाबा साहब आम्बेडकर की बात करते हैं तो औरों के लिए कोई काम नहीं होता है, लेकिन एक का नाम देंगे तो दूसरे का रह जाता, दूसरे का कहेगा तीसरे का रह, हर एक को लगेगा भाई हमारा भी तो योगदान था। और कुछ लोगों ने तो जीवन में इतनी ऊंचाइयां पाई है कि कोई उनका नाम दे या न दे, उनके नाम को कभी कमी नहीं हो सकती, कोई उनको मिटा नहीं सकता है।
In his speech, the Prime Minister also spoke about the ongoing debate on the issue of SC/ST reservation. He clarified his government stand and said there was no rethink on the issue.
और बाबा साहब आम्बेडकर ने यह आरक्षण की व्यवस्था को बल न दिया होता तो कोई मुझे बताएं कि मेरे दलित पीड़ित शोषित समाज की हालत क्या होती। परमात्मा ने उसको सब दिया है जो मुझे और आपको दिया है, लेकिन उसे अवसर नहीं मिला और उसके लिए उसकी दुर्दशा।
The Prime Minister also looked more forthcoming during his speech as he tried to clear all apprehensions surrounding the government's intentions about changing the preamble of the Constitution.
आज के समय में संविधान हमारे पास है, ये कोई भ्रम फैलाते होंगे तो गलत है। न कभी कोई संविधान बदलने के लिए सोच सकता है, और मैं मानूंगा अगर कोई सोचेगा तो आत्महत्या कर रहा है।
Even as the Prime Minister tried to reply to each one of the opposition's questions, his approach seemed more accommodative. Today's speech indicates that bitterness and confrontation between the government and the opposition is on the decline, and that's a good sign for the winter session of Parliament. Shyam Sundar's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, Lok Sabha members too discussed the commitment towards the Constitution, and several MPs raised the issue of intolerance. Here's a look at that and the other issues.
The discussion on the commitment towards the Constitution continued on Friday too. Parliamentary Affairs Minister Venkaiah Naidu urged all parties to put aside their differences and work towards strengthening the core values of the Constitution. Congress leader Jyotiraditya Scindia raised the issue of intolerance.
We have to see that the people of India are empowered. People of India are strengthened. We have political platforms to score political points. We can criticize each other. But in this August forum of this House, my appeal to all is, let us revisit what was the expectation, what are the achievements so far, what are the shortcomings, what are the challenges, how do we move forward. That should be the focus and that should be the agenda.
इस हाउस में बैठे हुए जिम्मेदार लोग, अध्यक्ष महोदय, हम में से कई जब गैर जिम्मेदार वक्तव्य देते हैं, अशोभनीय टिप्पणी करते हैं, तो वो सरकार का नुकसान नहीं होता, वो पार्टी का नुकसान नहीं होता, वो इस देश के इतिहास, वर्तमान और भविष्य का नुकसान होता है। अब धर्म निरपेक्ष हो, पंथ निरपेक्ष हो, उस कंट्रोवर्सी को छेड़ी गई क्योंकि उस शब्द के साथ इस सरकार को कठिनाई है सेक्युलरिज्म के साथ।
Samajwadi Party Chief Mulayam Singh Yadav raised the issue of reservation, saying political parties should stop talking about ending the system. But Shiv Sena's Arvind Sawant said there's now a greater need to discuss the issue.
अपनी सुविधा के लिए, अपने लाभ के लिए जो देश की एक सबसे बड़ी उपलब्धि है, और कहिए कि कोई धर्म न माने, कुछ न माने, लेकिन इसमें हम मानते हैं कि हमारे देश की बहुत ही धार्मिक पूंजी है। उस संविधान को बदलने की साजिश बार बार की जा रही, संशोधन किए जा रहे, इसलिए समाजवादी पार्टी सहमत नहीं।
पढ़ो, एक हो जाओ और संघर्ष करो। और संघर्ष करने की बात जब करती है तो सभापति महोदय, आज भी हमारे पददलित भाई संघर्ष कर रहे हैं, न्याय के लिए कर रहे, कभी प्रमोशन के लिए मांग रहे। इसके ऊपर एक अलग बहस होनी चाहिए, क्या करना है आरक्षण का।
BJD MP Bhartrihari Mehtab said there is a need to have a common civil code. Even as PDP's Mehbooba Mufti said it's wrong to question India's tolerant credentials.
After Supreme Court's prodding, the government is duty bound to act on it. My suggestion would be the government should begin discussions with people of all shades of opinion on this subject.
Right.
There is a need to hold inclusive consultations for a uniform civil code for all with all stakeholders.
This country belongs to all of us. And this country owns us and we own this country. तो ये कहने अगर हम कहें, अगर हम कुछ कहें कि भाई यहाँ गलत हो रहा है, उनके हिसाब से मैं अभी भी इस पे खड़ी हूँ कि ये मुल्क सबसे बड़ा टॉलरेंट मुल्क है दुनिया का.
The government declared November 26 as Constitution Day so that the nation could pay tribute to the makers of the Constitution. Pranav Goswami's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
इतना ही नहीं, इलेक्शन कमीशन का डेली अकाउंट दो.
Well, for more on this story, we're joined by Smita Gupta, who's the associate editor with The Hindu, joining us, in fact, in studio this evening. Smita, like we, of course, heard, a lot of leaders there, saying a lot, some interesting things, of course, in their speeches. But the highlight, of course, has been of Prime Minister Modi and, his change of tone that we're seeing, perhaps in the last 19 months, that sense of acrimony that we always, felt, seems to be waning.
Yes, I think a couple of things have happened between the last session of Parliament, the monsoon session, and this session. One is the defeat in Bihar, where the BJP, which was hoping to, form the government, lost quite badly. And the second thing that has happened, which is equally important, is that the economics reforms agenda of this government has got stuck. People are beginning slowly to talk about paralysis in this government. And it was felt that a lot of it had to do with the kind of confrontationist posture that had been taken by this government vis-a-vis the opposition. Of course, we have also had the backdrop of the intolerance debate, which has put the government on the mat, so to speak. So I think today when we saw the Prime Minister coming into Parliament and making a very, very sort of conciliatory kind of speech, where he sought to reach out to the opposition, where he spoke extremely politely when he referred to Mrs. Gandhi, Sonia Gandhi, whereas we know that during the speech, his election speeches in Bihar, they were far from respectful references to her.
That's right.
Secondly, there has been this sense from the Congress party that not only has the BJP been trying to appropriate its icons, but it has been denying Jawaharlal Nehru, whose 125th anniversary coincides with that of Baba Saheb Ambedkar, his rightful position in history. So there were many references by the Prime Minister to Nehru, to Ambedkar, to all the leaders of the freedom struggle.
Yes.
So he was basically reaching out to the opposition because he has realized that he has to make this gesture if he wants his government not to remain stuck where it is. And in particular, or sort of heading that list, is, of course, the goods and services tax.
That's right.
And as we saw that this bill this intervention by the Prime Minister came just hours before the Prime Minister's first ever meeting since the BJP came to power last year with Mrs. Gandhi and Prime Minister Manmohan Singh. And basically the focus of that discussion was how to break the impasse of the GST bill.
Absolutely, and we'll get to a preview of how the rest of the session is going to be. Of course, Monday onwards is when the actual work begins. But before that, Smita, if we could just wait, we could tell our viewers that the leader of Rajya Sabha, Arun Jaitley, as well, initiated a discussion on India's commitment to the Constitution in the upper house. He refuted allegations of rising intolerance while also disputing the interpretation of the word secularism, saying that the Constitution was not anti-religion but anti-theocracy.
On the second day of the winter session of Parliament, Leader of the House in Rajya Sabha, Arun Jaitley, took the attack to the Congress camp. Brushing aside its accusations of rising intolerance, Jaitley asked the party to recollect the emergency when the country faced suspension of Article 21 that ensured the right to life and liberty.
That if Article 21 is suspended, because it was suspendable, the citizens of India have lost the right to life and liberty. This was dictatorship at its worst. सबसे बड़ा अधिकार जीने का अधिकार है. आज तो टेलीविजन की स्क्रीन पर कोई आदमी आकर गैर जिम्मेवार बयान दे दे तो हम उसको इंटॉलरेंस मान लेते हैं. उस वक्त तो यह स्थिति थी कि आपको नाजायज तरीके से आपका जीवन भी छीन लिया जाए. Of course there is no comparison. The difference is between a mouse and a molehill.
Jaitley also accused successive Congress governments of frequently misusing Article 356 and weakening federalism. He asserted that only the emergence of strong regional parties and an independent judiciary defeated this threat to federalism.
How many times in the first 40 years, when we almost had a one-party rule at the center, was Article 356 used against the states? The moment we realized the high importance of federal politics and the federal character of India, you had coalition governments, you had regional parties emerging, you had regional parties becoming extremely important part of central governments. This has led to the strengthening of federalism, and that is why we now proudly use words like cooperative federalism.
Warning against judicial activism, Jaitley insisted that the judiciary cannot assume the powers of the legislature. In this context, he also referred to the collegium system of appointing judges to the Supreme Court and the High Courts.
I have said it outside, I have no hesitation in repeating it. The spirit of the original constitution in matters relating to the judiciary, today the absolute contrary of what Dr. Ambedkar had envisaged and stated is happening. Article 124 and 217, which deal with the appointment of judges of the Supreme Court and the High Court, Dr. Ambedkar in his intervention said in the Constituent Assembly, is this power to be left to the judiciary alone? And he said the answer is no. And therefore the constitution that he framed clearly said, the President of India will appoint in consultation with the Chief Justice. And today we have reached a situation where the Chief Justice or the Collegium will appoint and everybody else is irrelevant.
Jaitley strongly argued that affirmative action was not about creating a preferred class. He insisted that personal laws across religions still violate fundamental rights. Referring to another challenge to the constitutional process, the finance minister underscored the need for a united fight against terrorism instead of adopting a soft approach by some sections. Kriti Mishra's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, of course, the opposition has been a bit skeptical, of course, of Arun Jaitley's speech there. But Smita, you're still, of course, with us and talking about how the House is going to be functioning, of course, the coming week onwards. It seems like, there has been some sort of a breakthrough that is being at least tried from the government side, and now the ball's in the Congress's court.
Yeah, yes, I think it's interesting that today you saw the Prime Minister making a softer speech than his Finance Minister. Usually it's the other way around.
Yes.
So whatever tough points had to be made were made by the Finance Minister. But having said that, at this evening's meeting at the Prime Minister's house, which was largely on the GST bill, but it was also on moving the legislative agenda forward, when Mr. Jaitley came out to brief the media, one point he made was that the Prime Minister had specifically told Mr. Naidu, the Parliamentary Affairs Minister, that he must meet the two Congress leaders every week to move the legislative agenda forward. Now, this is not something new, but the very fact that it's been stated, restated,
yes,
it obviously means that the government is now trying very hard to make that gesture. As far as the discussions that took place on the GST bill this evening, both sides put forward their views, Mr. Jaitley said, and that both sides will discuss it within their own parties and come back shortly. This is the first time the discussions on the GST bill have taken place at the very highest level, meaning at the level of the Prime Minister and at the level of Dr. Manmohan Singh and Sonia Gandhi.
Yes.
So clearly both, I cannot see the Congress totally agreeing to the government's draft bill. I mean, I think both sides will have to give way.
All right.
And I think perhaps the GST bill, maybe there is some light at the end of the tunnel for the government.
We'll leave it there for now. Smita Gupta, thanks so much for joining us on this story. With that, of course, we'll take a very quick break here, but more news follows on the news tonight. Stay with us.
Nitish keeps an election promise. Bihar gets ready to ban alcohol. Will the decision work? What's India's experience with prohibition? Watch The Big Picture at 6:30 p.m. on Rajya Sabha television.
Welcome back. Let's get you some more national news now. And former Punjab Chief Minister Amrinder Singh will head the Congress's state unit in the state. He in fact replaces Pratap Singh Bajwa, whose resignation was accepted by party President Sonia Gandhi on Thursday. As part of the restructuring of the party in the state, Congress has also appointed senior leader Ambika Soni as chairperson of its campaign committee for the 2017 assembly polls. Prominent OBC face in the state, former Minister Lal Singh, SPCC's new senior vice president.
स्वाभाविक रूप से जब अध्यक्ष नया होते हैं या मुख्यमंत्री या प्रधानमंत्री नए बनते हैं तो कमेटी भी और कैबिनेट भी नई बनती है। उसमें पुराने लोग भी रहते हैं, नए लोग भी शामिल होते हैं। तो पुराने लोग भी रहेंगे, नए लोग भी शामिल होंगे, पीसीसी फिर से कंस्टिट्यूट होगी।
India successfully test-fired its indigenously built nuclear-capable Agni-1 missile today. The surface-to-surface missile is capable of hitting targets up to 700 kilometers away. Equipped with sophisticated navigation system, the 15-meter-long missile weighs 12 tons and can carry payloads of over 1 ton. Strike range can be extended by reducing payload. The missile was test-fired from the Abdul Kalam Island off the Odisha coast, that's also known as Wheeler Island. The missile has already been inducted into the armed forces and has proved its excellent performance in terms of range and accuracy. The Israeli military also test-fired the Barak-8 missile that is jointly being developed with India. The advanced surface-to-air missile, tested from a ship from the first time, intercepted a small drone stimulating an enemy target. Barak-8 is an upgraded version of the Barak missile, which India and Israel are already using to protect naval ships, offshore gas rigs from enemy's hostile aircraft, missiles and rockets. The project was jointly developed by India's DRDO and Israeli Aerospace Industries in recent years and will officially become operational in both countries' navies within 2 years. For international news, and French President Francois Hollande's efforts to expand the coalition against the Islamic State has got a shot in the arm, with both Germany and Russia agreeing to extend military cooperation. Even though Germany refuses to join in the coalition's airstrikes in Syria, it has agreed to deploy reconnaissance jets, refueling aircraft and a frigate to the region. This in itself is a big shift for Germany, who has so far refrained from getting directly involved in the conflict. Meanwhile, Russia has also agreed to extend military cooperation, with Russia and France agreeing to closely coordinate their airstrikes. Russian President Vladimir Putin has also called out for the need to form a wider anti-terrorist coalition.
Улучшить обмен оперативной информацией в борьбе с терроризмом, наладить конструктивную работу наших военных специалистов с тем, чтобы избежать дублирования и инцидентов.
Et notamment sur le transport du pétrole. Troisièmement, et le président Poutine vient d'insister aussi là-dessus, les forces luttant contre Daesh et les groupes terroristes ne doivent pas être visés par nos actions. Nous devons aller frapper les groupes terroristes et Daesh.
But despite calls for easing of tensions, there seems to be no end to the animosity between Turkey and Russia. The Russian president now accuses the US of giving up the position of its downed aircraft to Turkish authorities. However, Turkey seems to have softened its stand, with its prime minister now saying that the country was willing to sort out the tensions.
Russian President Vladimir Putin has accused the US of leaking the flight path of its downed jet to Turkish authorities. Putin said the US had a responsibility to ensure the safety of all countries' warplanes, as it was the leader of the coalition against Islamic State.
Мы заранее проинформировали наших американских партнеров о том, где, когда, на каких эшелонах будут работать наши летчики. Американская сторона, которая возглавляет коалицию, в которую входит Турция, знали о месте и времени пребывания наших самолетов. И именно там и в это время мы получили удар. Спрашивается, мы зачем эту информацию передавали американцам? Или они не контролируют, что делают их союзники, или эту информацию издают направо и налево.
This allegation only deepens the row, with Russia already having decided to enforce economic retaliatory measures on Turkey. Turkey, meanwhile, has sought to ease tensions, with Prime Minister Ahmed Davutoglu calling for unity against the Islamic State. Writing for the UK's Times newspaper on Friday, Davutoglu stressed that fighting Islamic State was the main priority, but Turkey needed to protect its sovereign territory.
Bu noktada bazı tehditlerle ortak projeler durdurulabilir. Aramızdaki şu andaki bazı münasebetler kaldırılabilir. Ya bu yaklaşımlar siyasilere yakışıyor mu? Bunlar olacak şeyler mi? Önce biz nerede hata yapıldı?
Criticism for Russia's reaction apart, Turkey is still refusing to apologize for downing the jet, although Turkey admits that its forces may have issued warnings differently had they known the plane was Russian. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And now let's get you some more international news updates in Global Buzz. Mali authorities arrested 2 people on Thursday over their suspected role in the nation's worst jihadist strike in years. The attack on a luxury hotel in the capital killed 20 people after the assailants held over 170 hostages. The Islamic State group claimed responsibility for the attack on worshippers at a mosque in northern Bangladesh. 1 person was killed while 3 others were injured. Witnesses said that the 3 attackers fired at worshippers indiscriminately. Pope Francis says that the world will face the stark choice to either improve or destroy the environment. In a long address, Francis said that it will be catastrophic to the future of the common good of people and the planet if the conference was manipulated by business interests. Now let's head on to some cricket news. And India has clinched the 4-match Test series 2-0, beating South Africa by 124 runs in the 3rd Test at Nagpur. Chasing a mammoth target of 310, the Proteas were bundled out for 185 runs in their 2nd innings. Continuing at the overnight score of 32 for 2, South Africa were reeling on 58 for 4 when skipper Hashim Amla and Faf du Plessis stood their ground and resisted India's push for a victory. The duo's partnership was ended by Amit Mishra. Off-spinner Ravichandran Ashwin was adjudged the man of the match for his career best figure of 7 for 66. And now let's get you some more sporting action in SportsBeat. Argentina defeated India 3-0 in the opening match of the Hockey World League Finals in Raipur. Gonzalo Payat gave Argentina an early lead in the 3rd minute. Joaquin Menini then doubled that lead in the 24th minute with an easy goal. Later, Payat's 2nd goal sealed the win for Argentina. India's ace shuttler PV Sindhu has advanced to the semi-finals of the Macau Open. Sindhu defeated Chinese Chen Yufei 21-13, 18-21, 21-14 in just 54 minutes. The defending champion will next take on Japan's Akane Yamaguchi. The first ever day-night test match was played between Australia and New Zealand in Adelaide today. The match was played under floodlights with a relatively untested pink ball. The use of the pink ball is seen as a departure from test match tradition that has not changed since the 1870s. And talking of tradition, auction house Sotheby's has started appraising Imelda Marcos's famous collection of jewelry after the Philippines government decided to recover 200 pieces of fine art once owned by the late dictator Ferdinand Marcos. These will be auctioned later, and now we're leaving you with some glimpses of some of our finest pieces.
Some sort of justice. Of course, it could never compensate for getting back what was taken from us.